Hi, my friends. You're here because high performance is one of your mindsets. You're already good at what you do, and you know there's still even more that you can do on your journey, both professionally and personally. One of the most famous performers in the world of business and finance, as some of you might know, is Warren Buffett. He's ranked as a number one investor of all time and one of the world's richest men. Well, Warren Buffett said that you can improve your value by 50% just by learning communication and public speaking skills. And I would 100% agree with that. And that's why I wanted you to all meet my very special guest, a dear friend of mine, Joel Weldon. Joel is my personal speaking coach and a Hall of Fame professional speaker. He's a creator of the ultimate speaking system for entrepreneurs, business owners, as well as chiropractors, medical practitioners, functional medicine practitioners, and doctors. He helps them speak more effectively by following one of the most important mindsets ordinary speakers just don't have. And you're going to see why when you meet Joel here if you haven't already. So if you rated yourself a 1 to 10 scale on your ability to speak in front of a group made up of your ideal audience members, what would that number be right now? Ask yourself that and ponder that question. If you had to rate yourself, what would it be? It can be anywhere from 1, which would mean I'm terrified to speak and hate it. Or it would be 10, which is I love to speak and I'm amazing at it. Wherever you are on the scale, the mindset that Joel's going to share with you can help you be an even better speaker and communicator. Joel has been paid to speak over 3,000 times at various events and has personally coached well over 10,000 speakers, including myself. And he's considered one of the highest performing speakers and speaking coaches in America. I've seen how he can turn an ordinary presentation into an extraordinary one, and you will too. So please help me welcome my dear friend, my coach, and somebody who has changed my life for the better, and somebody who's going to help you change your life and the lives of the people you touch better. Speaker, author, amazing human, coach, and awesome, awesome mentor to me, Joel Weldon. Welcome, Joel.
Well, Sachin, thank you for that very kind and beautiful introduction. Typical of Sachin. If you're part of his community, you know what a nice guy he is. So what are we going to talk about? What's the first question that would help your community members be even better at communicating and expressing themselves?
Yeah, absolutely. So for those of you that are watching the video, you'll see that above Joel's left shoulder, it says speaking to grow your business. And I believe that that's one of the fastest, most valuable and important tools that we have to grow our business. So maybe Joel, you can talk about why is it important for entrepreneurs and business owners, especially practitioners, to learn how to communicate effectively?
Well, that's a great way to start. So as you're listening, you're here because you're different. You're not following conventional medicine. You're into holistic or functional medicine. You look at the root causes of things, nutrition and the gut, and things that an ordinary physician doesn't pursue. They just prescribe pharmaceuticals. And because your mindset is on that type of thing, you think differently. And because you think differently, your ability to communicate that difference to your potential new patients or clients, whatever you call them, is based on your ability to speak. And that could be one-on-one. It could be on an interview. Maybe you're invited on a podcast. Maybe you're at an industry event. Or maybe you're doing a video to put on YouTube. And if you're not doing YouTube videos, that would be a great thing that you can do right away. You know that Google is the number one search engine in the world right now. Number 2 is YouTube. And people go to Google for information. Now, of course, we have AI. People are going there too for that. But they go to YouTube to learn something. And there are so many wonderful things available on video. And the majority of people use that as a source of learning. So with the wisdom that you've accumulated, if you're not putting out videos, at least 10 minutes long, you don't have to have a short video. The most watched videos on YouTube, according to Evan Carmichael, a wonderful Canadian, and probably the best expert on YouTube videos in the world, who has over 3 million followers and 500 million views of his video, says that the most watched videos are almost an hour long. People are going to learn something. So if you have this knowledge, this alternative way of thinking about how the body can be healed, and you're not sharing it, you're really missing an opportunity. So that's why it's important. You can reach so many more people. Yes, you could have somebody come to your office and explain to them what you do as a practitioner, but there's only one person there. If you get invited to a local group that has speakers come in, you could have 50 people hearing you. If you put it out on a YouTube video, you can have thousands of people hearing what you do. So that's why I think it's so important, Sachin.
With that being said, I think both you and I understand the importance of public speaking and its profound abilities to really shape our practices, shape our relationships as well. And, being a Genius Network member, I've gotten to know you over many years, and you've provided feedback to entrepreneur after entrepreneur, and it's been constructive in helping them build their practices. But one thing that I think is ubiquitous through human society for whatever reason is the fear of public speaking. So I think, you make a great case study for why it's important to be a good public speaker. And I think everyone would agree that it's important, but why do people have this inherent fear of public speaking? I think Jerry Seinfeld said that the number one fear is public speaking. The number two fear is death. So people would rather be giving they're more afraid of giving the obituary than being in the casket.
That's
So
right.
why,
That's a great, great, great quote from Jerry.
yeah. So why is that? Why do you think that is?
Well, as your community, as part of this community that you're in, you think differently about things. You look at the root causes of a patient's problem, their illness, or what's happening in their body. Correct? Is that right, Session? That
Absolutely.
you
Yeah.
start with the root causes. And one of the things to think of, as Session mentioned in the introduction, is the biggest mistake that people make when it comes to speaking is they think it's about them. And when you think it has to do with you, you become self-conscious. And when you are self-conscious, I wonder if they like me right now. I wonder if this community is picking. I wonder if I look, is my hair okay? All right, that's all self-directed thinking. So the one suggestion, if you get nothing out of this podcast, it's not about you. It's about the message that you're delivering. You are a message deliverer, and it takes you out of the picture. So let me just give you a metaphor. Just imagine, as a medical practitioner of some sort, you're on a lonely road going to an important meeting. It's at night, you're all dressed up, and there's an accident in front of you, and there's a person laying there on the road, bleeding profusely from a leg wound. Would you stop and help them? Well, obviously you would. Now, you would know, because you're a medical practitioner, basic, we got to stop the bleeding. Maybe you'd have to put a tourniquet or do something like that. And you might rip off part of your clothing. Now, as you're standing or on the ground with this person laying there, would you be thinking, oh, I'm going to get my clothes dirty? Oh, I might get blood on my shoes. Oh, if I tear my clothes apart to make a tourniquet, or it's going to take time, I'll be late. You wouldn't be thinking of any of that. Would you agree, Session? The only focus that you would have as a member of your community in that situation, I've got to help this person. I've got to stop the blood. There
Absolutely.
would be no thought for your personal self. What if you had that attitude when you were speaking, where you get yourself out of the way? It's about the ideas that you're sharing to help people. And that's the only thing going through Sachin's mind right now. We talked before we started the record button. He wants to be able to give you something that will help you. It's not about Sachin. It's not about Joel Weldon. It's about you, part of this community. and how you can benefit from being an even better speaker. That's the mindset that takes you away from self-consciousness into audience focus. It's about them. It's meeting their needs. It's giving them information to overcome their concerns. It's giving them examples that reinforce what they already accept. And that's how you connect. So does that make sense, Sashin?
Yeah, absolutely. And to your point, I want to, since we're talking about before the recording, Joel asked me, what's the first question you're going to ask me? And I said, well, I'm going to ask people about you and how you got into public speaking. And he's like, wrong. We're not going to focus on me. We're going to focus on the audience. So a man true to his word and really focused on helping you and delivering value for all of you today. And as am I, right? So I think that there's so much knowledge and wisdom and value that you have to offer with the thousands of presentations that you've done. Joel, let's just assume that some of our members are new to public speaking, and you've got this chicken that just hatched out of the egg, and you've got to impart it on the lessons that are going to make the biggest impact for it. What would you say to somebody who's just starting out? What are some key tips or pieces of guidance that you can offer, in addition to first not making it about them, making it about their audience? What comes after that?
Okay. So if you're not experienced at speaking, but you have knowledge, you have wisdom, you have information, and you have a unique thing about you. You know that your fingerprints and your eye prints are unique. Nobody in the world has the exact same as you have. Same thing with your ability to talk about an idea. If you're talking about health and wellness and fitness, sure, there are thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of videos on that, but you're unique. So the first thing is, what is it that you want to talk about? And let's say that you recently had an aha or an epiphany moment in your practice where you discovered something that you didn't know about, maybe on gut health, and an idea that has helped your patients, and they've seen tremendous progress, and you want to share that with others. Services. So if that's what you're talking about, the first suggestion would be, think about your audience. And the first question would be, what does your audience, the ones that you're trying to reach, need to know? So the first word is need. What does your audience need to know about the subject you're going to talk about? Second thing, and I would write those down. Like if you're talking about gut health. Now that's a term we hear a lot about. What does that mean? Maybe the first thing is you define that, because your audience doesn't know what you know. That's why they're listening to you. So what do they need to know? Well, they need to know what gut health is. They need to know what causes problems. They need to know what gives solutions. Write down the needs on that subject. Next word, fears. What are their, and I don't mean terrified like of a spider or a snake, but what causes them worry or concern about that subject? Well, gut health, I don't know that much about it. I got a tummy. I don't know what's in there. And, sometimes it feels good and sometimes it doesn't. Maybe I don't know. And that could be a fear. Or if I take something, could it cause me more damage than good? What are their concerns or worries on the subject you're going to talk about? And the third word is victories. And those are successes. What are the positives about your potential listeners on the subject of gut health? Well, they've heard a lot about it. They know that it's important. They know they're eating 3 times a day or more. They're constantly putting food in, but they don't know maybe if it's the best food. So there's already an interest and a connection. Those are all things that should go on your needs, fears, and victories list. Now, when you go to a meeting and you hear a speaker, and because you're part of this community of sessions, you're members of this community, you hear a lot of speakers. And here's how the ordinary speaker usually opens any message. Well, I'm so excited to be here. Session, I've been thinking about this all day, and I've got so many wonderful things to share about speaking, and I just can't wait to This is my favorite subject. No one cares. That's why I told them, don't ask me about me. No one cares about me. As you're listening to this, as a member of this community, you don't care anything about Joel Weldon. What you do care about is, does this guy on this podcast know something about speaking that I can use to make me an even better speaker if I'm comfortable at it? And on that 1 to 10 scale, I'm 5 or higher. Or if I'm lower than 5 and I'm scared to death about speaking and I don't want to do it, but I know I should, does this guy know something that I can use right away? Is that why you're here? It's not about you, and it's certainly not about me. Now, I've got to be credible. That's what he gave you in the introduction. I mean, when you've been hired to speak at over 3,000 events around the world and coached over 10,000 speakers and been a member of Genius Network for 10 years, working on over 400 talks in just that one group, maybe you say, well, this guy must know something. I think I'll listen to him. Now you're hearing ideas. Does it make sense? So there are 6 words you're never going to hear if you will make speaking part of growing your practice. Are you ready for the 6 words? You're never going to hear these. Sashin, no one is ever going to say these to you. Are you ready for them?
I'm ready.
Talk as long as you want. No one's going to say it. Sashin said to me, we're going to be on about 45 minutes. He didn't say, Joel, talk as long as you want. Because if somebody said to you, as a holistic practitioner or an alternative medicine practitioner, talk as long as you want. You could start today, and a week from today, you wouldn't have stopped and you wouldn't have repeated. You know so much material. So one of the biggest challenges speakers face is, I don't know what to talk about. I just gave you part of the tool to help you. And that's those 3 words: needs, fears, victories. If you have been careful about identifying your audience's needs, fears, and victories, here's the secret that ordinary speakers don't know. The only thing you can talk about is something that meets the audience's need, overcomes a fear, or reinforces and enhances a victory that they have. And then everything you say will be relevant to them. Now, that doesn't mean you can't say I or me or mine, which is the personal pronoun, but you want to mostly, and I wrote this on a card. I don't know if they can see this section. It's kind of small, but this is the key. That this message, as you are listening, and if you could look at the transcript of this message, it's about you. How you can talk, not how I can talk. I do this and I do this. No one cares. But if you make your message about them, it's like that metaphor about that person in an accident. You have no thought for yourself, your clothes, your time, other than helping this injured person and stopping the bleeding. And that's how you should have as a mindset for when you're communicating to others, whether it's a patient one-on-one in your office, it's all about them. You don't begin a conversation and say, hey, let me tell you what happened to me driving to the office today. No one cares. Now, when I say no one cares, I'm doing that to drive home the point, because you add the word unless. No one cares about you, Sashin, unless what you know can help me in my situation. Then they do care. So if you share a personal story, make it about them. I had a patient in the other day. This is something that you could say. I had a patient come in the other day, and they were faced with this XYZ situation. Something was discovered in this discussion that might be helpful for you. If you're facing XYZ, maybe what they did could benefit you. Okay, so whenever you tell a story, tell the point of the story up front and make the point relevant to their needs, their fears, or their victories. not about, this is my favorite subject. And Sasha, I just love talking about this. No one cares. So does that make sense, my friend?
It does. It does. And it's like a jagged pill to swallow that nobody cares about you. And even as an interviewee, because I love you so much and care about you so much and know how prolific your work is, um, it's hard not to talk about you as well because I admire what you do. And I guess it comes through in the intro, it comes through in the conversation. So we don't need to necessarily take up time in discussing it because it's going to bleed into the conversation is kind of my understanding of it.
Well, remember, we're limited in time. And the community of members that you've assembled on this podcast are busy people. They have active lives. And this is an informational podcast on the subject of using speaking to help them grow their practice and communicate more effectively. And as you know, with Warren Buffett, the 50% increase in the value of what you are by your ability to speak and communicate effectively. And now with the technology available to us through YouTube and Instagram and Facebook, having messages about what you do in your practice can be nothing but a blessing to you to spread your message and find new people that you can help, especially when you come over like Sashin does, where it's always about you.
I love that. Thank you. So tell me, Joel, if somebody's obviously listening to this, maybe they're already comfortable with public speaking. Let's say they're like me, they're very coachable, and they just want more speaking engagements. Do you have a formula or a process that you can share? Like what are event coordinators looking for in a speaker? Do you suggest having a sizzle reel? Do you suggest having a bio ready to go or an intro ready to go? Like, what are some of the things that we need in our toolbox to become more sought after speakers?
Okay, so now we're moving far away from on a 1 to 10 scale when you ask them to rate themselves, 1 terrible, scared to death, 10 really good at it. Now we're talking about the 8, 9s, and 10s on that scale, where they're wanting to get in front of even more audiences. Well, in my speaking career, since you asked me about that, I never worked with an organization to book me, which is called the Speakers Bureau, or a salesperson, or marketing, or a demo video, nothing. For almost 50 years, and yet was busy all the time. And it was based on one thing, which is what we've been talking about. Early in my career, which started in 1974, that's 50 years ago, and I'm still working full-time and no plans to stop, was built on exactly what you just heard, by creating a message that would meet the needs of the audience, overcome their fears, or reinforce their successes or victories. And two things would happen. They would hire me again or refer me to someone else, and never had to look for business. Some companies hired me 70 and 80 times over the years for different parts of their organization. And the same thing with you. It's based on being good at what you do. How do you grow your practice and how do you get referrals? You help people heal and get well, and they tell everybody, and they come to see you because their cousin saw you, or their next door neighbor went to you. That's how it works in speaking. Now, you can do all the other things. So if you want more speaking engagement, here's the simplest, cost-effective way to do it. Let the people who know and love you, your clients or patients, your friends, your relatives, that you have a message, a talk about XYZ, and you want to know, are they part of any organization that has guest speakers? And if they are, would you be willing to recommend me to that group? And it's amazing how many people that you know right now as part of Sessions community that are part of other organizations, EO, YPO, Kiwanis, Rotary, their trade organizations, chiropractic associations, local and national and state. All of those things are available, and they have speakers all the time. And if you just would send an email to everybody you know saying, I've got this presentation, here's what it can do. Do you know any groups or part of any groups where they bring in speakers where this message could be helpful for their members? So that's one simple way. Also, use your own contacts. The groups that you're part of offer to speak. But the simplest, easy way is YouTube videos. Putting something out, and Facebook or on Instagram. Getting out there with your message, but making the message about them. That's the key. So hopefully that's helpful.
Always, always super helpful. I love to know, in coaching practitioners and also in coaching entrepreneurs, especially when I get to witness your magic, you help every single Genius Network member prepare their 10-minute talk. And you take
We
an
have
idea.
5 of them tomorrow starting. So we've got the 5 new ones and 6 coming up in June. Yes.
Oh, amazing. So I'll get to witness them tomorrow in the meeting. And so what the theme that I see over and over again is these entrepreneurs come to you with these ideas, and they might kind of throw some mud at the wall, hoping something sticks and lands, and you help kind of organize it and turn it into beautiful pottery, let's call it. So what are some of the common mistakes that you see, or what are some of the common things that you see mistakes that you see entrepreneurs making when they're trying to get their message across? Because clearly they're passionate about what they do.
That's a great question. And so as you're listening, part of this community, remember when I said there's 6 words you'll never hear, talk as long as you want, because you have so much information. And that's the challenge most people have. So using the situation Sachin gave you, Genius Network, 10-minute talks, and that's what they got to be, 10 minutes. People say, well, I can't get it in 10 minutes. There's so much I want to share. So we're going to have a talk tomorrow morning by Dr. James on psychedelic medicines, ketamine. So when we started working on this talk, it was about 18 or 19 minutes long. And it was so technical and medical, I had no idea what he's talking about. Now, Sachin, I haven't taken any psychedelic medicines. I don't know anything about them. And I would say that probably a good percentage of our members would be in the same group. Some certainly have. And I asked him this question, what do you want the end result to be? He said, well, I would like them to look at ketamine, if they are having some of these challenges, as a possible solution, administered in the right way. Now, Sachin, because he's part of this group, knows you can't make this into a sales presentation. So it's not that he was trying to sell us on coming to him. He was selling the idea that there are between 550 and 750 ketamine practitioners around the United States and Canada that are licensed and legal that can do this kind of thing. So wherever you are, you have access. So that took the way of getting selling out of it, that he's trying to get you to come to him. But because he had so much information, I said, all you need to do in the message is make it clear what ketamine is, how it works, what the benefit could be, and the call to action would be, if you're having some of these issues, try it. Now, when you give a presentation, if you would start with the end in mind, if you're a chiropractor and you're talking to people about what a chiropractor can do that their other physicians haven't been able to do, the goal being, come and see me. If that's what you're trying to do, you don't have to tell them everything. You just need to give them enough information. So in this talk tomorrow, which is such good timing for this question that you've asked, James is going to talk about what are some of the challenges the members in that room face. What do they need to know? That's where the know what do they need to know about this? And the needs part is, well, is it legal? So that's one of the first things. It's legal. It's been approved. It's been administered billions of times. People don't know that. So that's going to get the fear out of the way. And that's going to take 2 minutes. Then he's going to talk about what it's like to go through a treatment, what the possible experience would be like. And then he's going to end it. So for your talk, whatever that talk might be, start with the end in mind. What do you want your listener to do as a result of what they're hearing? So my call to action for you is use the ideas you're hearing. If these make sense to you, I have a whole system, an online program with group coaching that we do every month with a live meeting with me for a year that you can invest in. And we're going to give you the website. Or you can hire me one-on-one like Sashin does, but I only work with very few people because it's unlimited time. And since Sashin hired me, 8 years ago, 9 years? I mean, it's a long time. Mm-hmm. Now they get unlimited time. So I only take 3 or 4 people a month to make sure I'm available. So that's the call to action. So everything you're hearing is right out of the system with videos, audios, printed material. Every tool, every technique you hear is part of a system to help you organize your message. That's what you need to do. Tell them what your system is. Tell them what's available to them so there's no mystery, no unknown. Well, I still don't know what they do as a chiropractor. Oh, that should be part of it. Or with James's talk tomorrow, well, I know what ketamine is now. I think I'm having some of those issues. Maybe this would be something I should look into. I'm going to check it out. And that's so important that you have a call to action. And when people, part of your community session, because you bring in so many good marketing people with so many great ideas, they think a call to action has to be selling something. A call to action is exactly that. What do you want the audience, the listener, to do? So let's say your talk is on gut health and the importance of, let's say, eating healthy and getting into great shape. Just a general theme. Much more detail would be in your talk. And then your call to action would be this: stop eating crap, exercise every day, and pay attention to your gut health by surrounding yourself with healthy people. I'm just making it, but whatever. So if those are the call to actions, you don't want to end a message on that. And that's what ordinary speakers do. They end on a call to action. There's an even better way to end. End by painting a picture of what your listener's life will be like when they do the call to action. So let's go back to those things on being healthier. So you give the 3 calls to action, and I would never give more than that. In James's case, it's just 1. If what you heard makes sense, look at the ketamine directory, find somebody where you are, make an appointment, and see if it can work for you. That's it. Then he's going to use the word imagine. And he's going to paint a picture of what it could be like when you did that. So let me go to the one about gut health. And the call to action is stop eating junk or crap, exercise every day, focus on gut health, and be around healthy people. Now just imagine it's 3 months from today. You wake up, you run in the shower, you step out, and you look at yourself in a full-length mirror, and you're smiling. Your excess body fat is gone. Muscles appeared where they never were before. You feel great every day. You have the energy that you used to have 20 or 30 years ago. And how did that all happen? Because you listened to this podcast and you took action. Now go out and claim the body within you. Sashin? Okay, so the ending of a message should be paint a picture of what their life could be like. Now, I'm not ending yet. We still have a few more minutes. But if I was to end right now, I already told you the call to action. Just go to talktojoel.com. That's my calendar. Or go to ultimatespeaker.com and see what's available. Okay, that's the call. Go to ultimatespeaker.com. Now, just imagine you've done that. It's 6 months from now. You just stepped off the stage in front of your ideal audience, and they gave you a standing ovation. Not only did you make a great presentation, but you were so calm, so relaxed, and you felt so good about that experience. All those past fears were gone. And you know why it was so effective? Because you made it all about your audience, not about you. You had a clear call to action. You ended with a picture of what their life could be like. And you met their needs. You helped overcome their fears, and you reinforced their victories. That's what your life can be like. Every time you give a presentation, when you use the tools in the ultimate speaking system, session, bam, and end with an impact. And here's another startling statement. Never say thank you. Now, you might say, wait a minute, we're Canadians. I know we have a lot of Canadians say thank you for everything. And so do some Americans, except those in New York. No, I'm originally a New Yorker, so I can say that. But seriously, when you end a message with, thank you, I'm just so grateful for you. When you say thank you, it's because you have received something. Let me give you another metaphor. You're driving down the street in your town, a red light appears. You know it's a long light because you've been there before. And there's a homeless person with a sign begging for food and money. And you jump out of your car, you give them $100 bill, and you rush back to your car. And before you leave, you look back at that person and say, thank you. They would think you're nuts. They just got $100. They're going to thank you. And that's the mindset that you need when you're speaking or presenting any one of your ideas. You are giving them, they are going to thank you. You've helped them with their gut health. You've helped them with their mindset, whatever it is that you've talked about. And then when they clap, then you could say thank you because they just gave you something. But when you end by saying thank you, it's because now I'm going to get a lot of new patients. We're going to have many people coming into our practice that wouldn't have had it before. Boy, am I so glad I'm here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm going to get rich as a result of this presentation. Because then you're making it all about yourself. Now, I know that's kind of a radical idea, but did that come over clearly, Sachin, for you?
Yeah, the first time you shared that with me, it was almost triggering, right? And even this in your email copy, instead of saying thank you for making a purchase, you would say congratulations
Congratulations.
instead.
Yeah.
And that stuck with me from the last like 8, 9 years that I've known you. And we always, instead of saying thank you, now say congratulations. And it's you're getting the same message across, right? You're getting the gratitude and the excitement and the enthusiasm across, but you're using words that uh, can't be minced, right? Like thank you can be taken in a couple different ways, right? And I think it's really powerful to be very diligent and very strategic with the words that we use, especially if um, we're trying to convey a specific message and not leave things up for interpretation.
Right. If you just remember the definition, it's receiving something from someone else. If they open the door for you going into a meeting room, well, thank you. But imagine if you're standing there holding the door for somebody and they walk through and you say, thank you. They would look at you, what? You're holding the door for me. And that's the difference. And when people give you positive things, coming to you, Doc, was just so wonderful. I just feel so great. Well, thank you for saying that. Thank you for sharing that. That's where it's appropriate.
Mhm.
Sure. You want to be grateful and appreciative and kind and thoughtful, but not when you're speaking and delivering a message that's about them.
So true. So good. And
Well, what
you
do
know,
we have left for our last 5 or so minutes? What else can we add to your wonderful community of members?
well, I think a question that comes up a lot of times, actually, I was pondering this at a recent speaking engagement that I was part of, is what to wear. So I'm curious as to what your response would be to that. How do we decide what we're going to put on, what we're going to wear?
All right, so first we have to talk about the ties that men are going to wear. All right, well, obviously, we see a tremendous change in dress code. And here's a little phrase to think of. When you're speaking, there's a term that came out of the National Speakers Association many years ago. It's called the privilege of the platform. And when you stand up in front of an audience of any kind, whether in a church or religious organization or a business group or a networking group, my suggestion is one level up from the audience. So, as an example, if it's springtime like it is now and it's fairly warm, and the audience is business casual, which would be a sports shirt like I'm wearing or like you're wearing, then if you're speaking and you're a man, maybe a sport coat would be appropriate on stage. Now, I know that the look of the younger generation, ripped jeans, sandals and no socks, and looks like they're throwing out the garbage. And to me, that's
Or
an
wearing it.
insult to the audience. Now, like you have a beautiful shirt on, that would be appropriate. But again, and there are some groups that still do wear ties. If you look at ESPN, the sports channels, almost every announcer is wearing a suit and tie. They're the last vintage of that. Late night talk show hosts have gone more casual, but most have a sport coat on. So for a man, a sport coat, and for a woman, it's been a while since I've worn women's clothes, but sometimes on Thursday I put them on. But seriously, I don't know what you'd call it, but one level up from the audience. That would be my answer. But remember, it's not about your clothes. It should be respectful and not distracting
Hmm.
because it's not about you.
Yeah, one piece of advice that I got, and it may have been from you, and this could be helpful for some people because sometimes people are nervous, or you're under spotlights, literally and figuratively, and that can make us sweat a little bit. So
Yes,
so to not wear colors where your sweat shows
right.
was
That
a
was
tip.
Jenny. Jenny came up with that. Jenny's my
Okay,
partner and my daughter, and she's a professional speaker. And yes, that was it because she did wear a blue shirt, and then the bits were all so that was a good lesson. But it's not about the attire; it's about your message, and
okay,
it's that feeling people know when you're there for them. And that's what you do as a practitioner. When people come into you, when they're hurting and need help and healing, that bedside manner, that attitude of, I'm here to help you, that's picked up on. And the same thing when you're speaking.
love it, love it. Joel, this has been very enlightening, and always love your enthusiasm. I appreciate you for taking time out of your schedule and educating our community. It's always very fruitful. And if you haven't watched, if you're part of our mentorship community, go back and watch the training that Joel came and did for our community. If you're not part of our community, then I don't know what's stopping you, but we'd love to invite you if it's the right fit. So, what I'd love to know from you, Joel, I know there's so many things that you can and have to say. What are your final words for our conversation today?
Well, remember the call to action. Just go to ultimatespeaker.com and look and see if any of these tools could be helpful for you. And if you really are serious, then you can make an appointment. We can talk about your situation. But listen to what you heard today from your heart. What resonated with you? Was it no one cares, that it's not about you? So if I could summarize everything it's taking me all of these decades to learn, watching tens of thousands of speakers and coaching so many, here's 22 words that can be a guideline for you. Are you ready? 22 words. Speak to your audience about what they need in an organized way they can follow and get yourself out of the way. Make it a great day for this wonderful community of members that you've established, Session.
Thank you, Joel. So much love, so much gratitude, so much appreciation for you. I appreciate everything that you shared today. Looking forward to seeing those presentations during the 10-minute talks tomorrow. And I'll see you in person in about a month. I'll be at the next Genius Network meeting. So looking forward to giving you a big hug at that time. All right. Thank you, my friend. Have a wonderful day. And thank you, community members, for joining this conversation. Joel is such a great mentor to me. And, my invitation to you is if you feel called, go check out the work that they're doing. Him and his daughter, Jenny, are just absolutely hilarious. We got to see some of that today. And they make it not only unforgettable, but very memorable, the lessons that you've learned, that I've learned over the years, and the lessons that you'll learn in working with them. And, one of the things that I'll say, what I admire about Joel is that he eats, sleeps, and breathes public speaking. He is so passionate about this. I know that passion came through, and he's such a world-class expert at this. So some of the most prolific entrepreneurs in the world hire him and work with him. So if you do have that rare opportunity to be on his roster like I am, I would highly encourage you to do so, because it's one of those gifts that keeps on serving your audience, keeps on providing exposure for your business, and then it creates more confidence and certainty in you getting your message out there. And of course, we all know how important that is. So thank you. Thanks for tuning in today. Lots of love, lots of gratitude. Have a wonderful day.